it's our choice to purposefully start to be more thankful for the things he's brought us through that actually gives us the faith to start to believe for immeasurably more. They go together. And so you really can't separate them. And being thankful, it's not just something that like we teach our kids. It's not just like being polite. It's a biblical mandate from God. 1 Thessalonians 5 says this, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Happy 20th, Red Rocks. My gosh. Scott and Lori Brugman have a son named Brock, and we have a son named Austin, and both of them were born right about the time the church started. And so for 20 years, I always look at Austin and Brock, and I'm like, that's the maturity of our church right there. And Austin and Brock now go to school together in college, and Austin told me a couple weeks ago, I was like, yeah, me and Brock went to a basketball game and we almost got in a fight with some kids from the other school. And I was like, yep, that's the maturity of our church. Welcome to Red Rocks. Guys, I could stand up here literally for days and just brag on God and tell you miracle story after miracle story after miracle story. People have been saved that everyone thought they'll never find God, and marriages that were doomed have been fixed and healed, and addictions have been overcome, and people have been set free from all kinds of things. And we will go down memory lane a little bit today, but I just believe God's not done with us, church. I just believe he's got something more. I really do. In fact, I believe this verse right here, Jeremiah 29:11, still applies to every single one of us, every single one of you as individuals, as families, and all of us as a church family. And it's this: for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. And I believe that verse still applies to our church 20 years in, more than it ever has. I just don't think our best days are behind us. I think our best days are in front of us, church. I think God has more. And so in tradition, what we do at this time every year, I usually give you a word that we're gonna kind of focus on for the year. Our word for 2025 is that word I just said a few times, more. I just believe God's not done with us, and he's just got more in store for us. And this is the verse that we're gonna focus on this year, Ephesians 3:20. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more. Come on, you guys are with it. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. You've heard us say it for the last few weeks in this Get Ready series, and what you didn't know is we were getting ready for more. And that's what we've been talking about on purpose for the last 3 weeks. And we keep saying, like, God's not done. God's got a plan. He's got something else, right? There's more around the corner. And we've just never believed it more than we do right now. And we've also said this: what we're not interested in 2025 is trying to figure out what we can do better this year. We'll always do the what can I get better at, but what we're really focusing on this year is what can God do? That verse we just read said it's according to his power that is at work within us, right? So this year we're gonna go, not what can I, because there's things about my life that I can't stand. If I could have fixed them, I would have. I can't. I need his power this year, and so do you. So we're gonna focus on his power and the fact that he promises us immeasurably more. And I just believe it. Go ahead and put some of those words up. I believe more for this church this year. More faith, more fight, more grit, more praise, more peace, more joy, more purpose, more intimacy with God, more freedom from anxiety, more freedom from depression, more confidence to walk in our calling, more people finding Jesus, more breakthrough, more life to the fullest. More miracles than we could ever ask, think, or imagine. That's where I think we're going, church. And I'm so excited. And I just got to say, I'm so thankful that I get to be a part of this church family with you. Jill said it. We never saw this day coming. Never thought we'd get to 20. All week, people have been asking, like, what's it feel like? And I'm like, I don't know, kind of disbelief. Like, I can't believe we're here. The title of today's talk, if you're taking notes, is It's Time for More. Let me just say this up top. Number one, there is a 20-year merch drop that you do not want to miss. It is naughty. I'm telling you, it's naughty. And secondly, we've got a gift for you. If you're at one of our locations, we've got this, I'm calling it the More Journal. And it's It's a journal that we want each of you to take. You can get one if you're at one of the physical locations out in the lobby. If you leave early, you are disqualified from getting these journals. And they are only there until supplies last. Now, there's two parts to this journal. My wife wrote an amazing letter in the beginning of it. And she's gonna challenge you to start thanking God more than you do on autopilot. And then about halfway through it, I wrote a letter that's 1/20th as good as hers. And I'm gonna challenge you in that part of the journal to start believing for more. And so those are the two things that we're trying to get you to start to focus on in this journal, but it's the two things I want us to start out for the rest of this year focusing on as a church family. I want us to be more thankful than we have been. Not that we're ungrateful, but we just on autopilot don't always focus on remembering what God has done. I want us to be more thankful, and at the same time, I want us to start believing for immeasurably more, because that's what God promised us. And what you're gonna see is those two things absolutely go together. As you hear me talk throughout this message, I'll keep referring to, I'm gonna challenge you to get one of these and to write in both halves of it, not at different times of the year, at the same time, right? On the same day. Like today, I'm gonna write, here's the things I'm thankful for, and I'm gonna flip over a few pages, and I'm gonna write, here's some crazy, miraculous, I'm almost scared to ask God prayers in the other part of it. Because we're gonna be more thankful, but we're also gonna believe that God can do more than we could ever ask, think, or imagine. Now, as I talk about this journal today, just know this. I know that there's some of you that are watching from other states, other countries. You're gonna lose the race to the lobby and not get one. Whatever the case may be, get yourself a journal at Target for 99 cents or a notebook or some printer paper or whatever. You can use your phone for everything I'm gonna challenge you, but I'm gonna challenge you today to do some writing. There's something that just hits different when you actually use a pen and put some things down on paper. And so I'm gonna challenge you to do that today. That sound good? Yeah. All right, let's break these down. Let's hit the first one, to be more thankful. What we're gonna find out is the reason they go together so well is because God's about to show us through his word. It's our choice to purposefully start to be more thankful for the things he's brought us through that actually gives us the faith to start to believe for immeasurably more. They go together. And so you really can't separate them. And being thankful, it's not just something that like we teach our kids. It's not just like being polite. It's a biblical mandate from God. 1 Thessalonians 5 says this, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. I hear people all the time going, man, I'm just trying to find God's will for my life. And I believe with all my heart that if you'll spend time getting close to him and getting in his word, and he'll speak and he'll talk to you about the questions you have about your job and about your relationships and whatever else you're asking for advice. But part of it we don't have to ask for. He's already told us, this is my will for your life. That on your best days, you remain thankful. On your worst days, you remain thankful. There's just something that happens in your soul when you choose to be thankful no matter what's going on. And we could talk about just that topic for weeks. I mean, the Bible talks about how, sorry, it was driving me crazy. The Bible talks about how when we choose to be thankful, there's peace to be found, there's joy to be found, there's strength, there's confidence, there's time in his presence, there's all these things. But the aspect I want to focus on today is kind of what I just alluded to, is that when we choose to be more thankful than we kind of are on autopilot, it really does begin to build our faith to believe that he can do more in our futures than we could ever dream possible. And so that's why I like putting these two thoughts together. I want to pick up today where Doug left off last week. If you were here, if you didn't catch last week's message, then you got to go get caught up. It was unbelievable. But Doug was talking about the nation of Israel and Joshua leading them, and they were going to they were about to cross the Jordan River and go into the promised land, into the more that God has for them. And Doug left us with, he said, God said, the promise was, I'll give you every place where you put your foot. He didn't say, I'll show you miracles and then you'll have the confidence to start taking steps of faith. He said, no, you start taking steps of faith and I'll start doing miracles. And so Doug said, last week he said, God actually told him, go put your foot in the water. Go step into the water, and then I'll start doing miracles. And then Doug left us with this big cliffhanger. Like, what happens? How could you do that, Doug? And so I want to pick up right where he left off. So God does this miracle. He parts the Jordan River. They go across this river onto the other side into the promised land. They're about to step into the more. All the promises that they've had and new levels of influence and more peace, more joy, more freedom, more calling, all of it. And the temptation for them would be, we just got through this miracle, let's run into the more. And God goes, no. Before I want you focusing on my immeasurably more, I want you to first focus on being more thankful. He said, in fact, I want you to go back in the river. Go grab 12 large stones, bring them back over here and build a memorial. And this memorial is just going, all a memorial is it's something that we can look at and go, look what God did. And he says, go do that. Go build this memorial. And then he said, don't ever stop talking about it. Don't ever forget what I've brought you through. Tell your kids, tell your kids' kids, tell everybody who will listen. God got me through that. And he said, because what they're gonna find out is that's gonna start building their faith for where he wants to take them, right? Let's read this in Joshua 4. He says, don't ever forget, remember, celebrate it, be thankful for it. Joshua set up at Gilgal the 12 stones they had taken out of the Jordan. He said to the Israelites, in the future, when your descendants ask their parents, what do these stones mean? You tell them Israel crossed the Jordan on dry ground. For the Lord your God dried up the Jordan before you until you had crossed over. The Lord your God did to the Jordan what he had done to the Red Sea when he dried it up before us until we had crossed over. He did this, here it is, so that all the peoples of the earth might know that the hand of the Lord is powerful. He says, go build a memorial. Go put something together that you can look back on. You can look back on your good days, but you can really look back on your tough days. And when you're struggling and when you feel like God's not paying attention and things aren't working out and you're feeling anxious and feeling depressed and feeling scared and feeling heartbroken and wondering what's going on and you're all confused, you don't have to know what's happening now. Just look back to that memorial, that just pile of stories that says we were in a crazy situation and it felt impossible, but look what God did. And that's gonna start to build your faith for where I wanna take you. Go build that memorial. And so on our 20-year anniversary, today we're gonna build a memorial. We don't have 12 stones. We're gonna use video clips and pictures. But it's gonna do the same thing. We're just putting together something that we can refer back to and go, look how crazy that was. Look how impossible that felt, but look what God did through it. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna build a memorial. And so I'm gonna share some pictures and tell some stories as you would imagine on a 20-year anniversary, but we're not doing it just because it's our 20-year celebration. I really want us to build a memorial as a church family. And so if you see a couple pictures that you go, man, I've seen those before, that's okay. You'll probably see them again because I don't want us to ever forget what God brought us through. I don't want us to ever forget where we came from. And there's thousands of people right now that are a part of Red Rocks that weren't a part of Red Rocks this time last year. And I want everybody to be on the same page. I want us to always remember where God brought us. So as I start to build this memorial, and we're gonna take a little trip down memory lane for a few minutes. There's a few people that I have to just say thank you to up top. The Bible says, give honor to whom honor is due. And I can't thank any of them adequately, but I can't do a service like this on such a special day for us without just saying some names. Scott and Lori Brugman, thank you so much. We're not here without you. We love you. Scott, I know you're watching. We're praying for that tumor. Todd and Cindy Ballard, Chad and Rachel Brugman, McDonald family, thank you so much. We love you guys. This church is not what it is without you. BZ and Kelly, where you at? Oh, I can't look at y'all cry. This church is not what it is without you. Thank you. Thank you for your faithfulness and your sacrifice and been here since day one and still in the trenches just serving and just doing it, man. And I love you so much. I love you, BZ. Brian and Kristen Austin, been here since day one. Brian has been serving Kristen's been serving. They just, from day one, behind the scenes, like crazy. They're the busiest people I've ever met. And yet they're still on like 14 different serve teams today. Been generous like crazy all these years. Thank you, Brian and Kristen, wherever you're at. I love you so much. I cherish our friendship. My boys. Love you. Sorry if you're new. It's the 20-year anniversary thing. I'm not usually a crier. This thing wasn't your dream, but it's all you've ever known. And I know that you guys have paid a lot of prices to be the kids whose parents pastor Red Rocks. And in some ways you still are, and I thank you, and I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. And Jill, other than Jesus, like you're the best thing God's ever given me, and I love you so much, and I'm not here without you. Thank you, babe, I love you. Church family, hey, if this is your first time, thank you for joining us and being here and celebrating with us today. And for a bunch of you, you've been coming for a long time, giving, serving, getting in groups, sacrificing, inviting, praying for us, believing with us. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Happy birthday. All right, so we're gonna build this memorial for a few minutes. Now, I gotta say this, you might not care, and it'll just help my mind, but as I start to share some stories and show some pictures, if we've never met, maybe this is your first time, it might be easy for you to go, pretty proud of themselves, aren't they? They really think a lot of themselves. I'll be honest with you, I've never felt worthy to be a part of this thing. So that's just not my heart on this. I just want you to know that like when God told Joshua and the nation of Israel to build that memorial, they weren't building a memorial to say, hey, look what we did. They were building a memorial to say, hey, look what God did, and we just got to watch. And so that's what this memorial is. I'm not bragging on any of us. All we're doing is bragging on God. In 2004, almost James. In 2004, he saw I put it in my notes wrong and I just said it wrong again. Idiot. 2004, I met Scott Brugman, and he and some friends, including the Ballards, were gonna try to start a church. And me and Jill and some friends, including the Zabels, were already planning to move to Denver and start a church. And we just decided last minute, what if we put our little two groups of people together and let's start a church together? And so in 2004, in about October, we started having these meetings once a week. I would fly, I didn't live here yet. I would fly to Denver every Thursday for about 3 months. And we would just talk about what we envisioned this church looking like. And this is definitely a picture you've seen before if you've been around. And I promise you, I'll show it to you again. That was the entire church right there. 12, 15 people on a good day. Last year, I told you about the red candles we had there on the table. We passed those out and just said we were just gonna light them and we're just gonna pray for lost people. Because we were like, man, we don't know how to be pastors and we don't know how to reach lost people. We don't know how to run a church. Like, God, we need you. Would you help us reach lost people? But me and BZ were talking today. That was a pivotal night for our church because that was the night where we started talking about what kind of church we were hoping that God would help us be a part of. And I remember I said, guys, when I say we're starting a church, all 12 or 15 of us, however many were there, we all think of something slightly differently based on our background and what we think church is. So I want to try to give you an idea of what I think we're called to be a part of. And I said, it's the difference between a courtroom and a hospital. And I said, look, I have a past. I've been in some courtrooms, okay? Different stories, different days. When you go to a courtroom, you really think through what you're gonna wear, and you try to dress to impress a little bit. In fact, you try and dress in a way that people, when they see you, they think you're doing a little bit better than you actually are. You hope people actually think you're a little bit better than you actually are, and you just hope that you won't be too harshly judged when you get there. And I said, guys, if we're not careful, that's how church can feel sometimes. Not because anyone means for it to, it just can. I know because I walked into one at 24 and I was having all those thoughts. Do I look okay? Am I wearing the right things? How many people are judging me? I probably shouldn't be here. I said, guys, that's not what Red Rocks Church is gonna be. It's not gonna be a courtroom, it's gonna be a hospital. I said, think when you go to the hospital, especially if it's an emergency, the last thing in the world you're thinking about is what you're gonna wear. You put on sweatpants that don't fit, socks that don't match, wear flip-flops on top of the socks, like you don't care, right? Because you're not trying to impress anybody. You're just going and you're not trying to hide your hurts. You go in there and you go, this is exactly how I'm hurting. I need a doctor. I said, that's I think what we're called to build. And 20 years later, if this is your first time, I hope you feel that already. This is not a place you have to pretend to be anything that you're not. You don't have to dress up to impress. You don't have to hide your brokenness. It's a hospital. This is a place where we come and go, I am what I am, and here's how I'm broken, and I need to meet with the great physician. Would somebody lock arms with me until he can help? That's what we are, and hopefully that's what you still feel. Pictures were hard to come by in 2005, January. No iPhones, no social media. You know, we had the little flip phones. Nobody was taking pictures on those things. Like the only people taking pictures were the guys who looked like tourists. You know what I mean? Big strap with a giant camera on their chest. Well, I just got a text this week from a guy, and I haven't talked to him in years. And he's like, bro, you're not gonna believe this, but I was at your very first day of church in January 2005, and I had my camera and I took pictures. And he sent me these pictures and I was like, oh, this is dope. So I get to do for you what we've never done. He took pictures from the parking lot all the way through the whole thing. I'm gonna take you to the very first church service Red Rocks Church ever had, 2005, January. Go ahead and put that first picture up. He arrived in the parking lot at Heritage Square. Yes, those are train tracks, and I have scars from those train tracks. I'll tell you about them in a minute. They're all mental and emotional. What he didn't know is, from this point on, he had a 1/4 mile uphill walk to find our little church in the very back corner. And we weren't allowed to put up signs because it was a working theme park. It's been demolished. It should have been demolished then. You're risking your life to get on one of those rides, but it's a working theme park. So this guy made the 1/4 mile walk, found our building with no signs, and here's what he walked up to. Oh, those pastels. I still have nightmares about those pastels. So he walks up to the room, and then the first thing he sees when he walks in the door is the first thing everybody saw, Scotty Brugman with a handshake and a hug. You have not lived until you've had a welcome to church, brother, handshake and hug from Scotty B. That's the first thing you get when you walk in. You look straight ahead, and there's a little coffee booth right there. That's the whole lobby right there. You just saw it all. We already knew. We were like, look, our worship's no good, our preaching is worse, but we could get you a Krispy Kreme donut if you come in. We bought 2 boxes, and we're quite certain that would feed everybody. Years later, I remember walking up to church one morning, and it was like a U-Haul truck backed up, and they were bringing in Krispy Kremes on like dollies stacked 8 feet high, and I immediately went to BZ, and I'm like, how much are we spending on Krispy Kremes? And he told me, I'm like, done. We are done. Almost shut the church down. There was such a revolt over the lack of Krispy Kremes. If you grab your Krispy Kreme, you walk right into the auditorium, the first thing you see is Brian Zabel at the tech booth every single week. And what he was running back there in his little tech world was our amazing set that we had designed. That was the 2005 Red Rocks version of an LED wall right there. Those 2 white squares, me and BZ bought those boards the day before at Home Depot. They were $10 each. We split the cost, big purchase. We owned 6 Parcan lights. So we put 3 on one and 3 on the other. We had white, blue, and red. And me and BZ had it all planned out. We were creating an experience with our set. You notice it's white and blue when you walk in because that's an exciting vibe. But when Todd would go slow into a slow worship song, we'd get that red and blue and put it together, and BZ'd work up a deep purple on those boards to usher in the presence of God. And I'd be on the other side of the room. I'd be looking at BZ like, nice fade, bro, nice fade. $10 a panel right there. These panels break nonstop. They cost more than $10. This is a picture of the entire group right there. That's it. Kind of a good news, bad news thing. Half of them came back the next week. So it's kind of cup empty, cup half empty, half full, however you see it. But that was the entire church. But I can't take you to the first day of church without showing you a picture of the one thing that almost shut the entire thing down. That's it. That miniature train almost shut the whole thing down. That thing went in circles. So about every 6-7 minutes went right behind our building. I'd be preaching my heart out, and about 6-7 times per sermon, you'd hear, woo, woo. And all I heard was, loser, you work at a theme park. Like, I couldn't take it. Like, I'd be trying to beg somebody to put their faith in Jesus. And I'm like, and if you just want to say yes to Jesus, I just want to challenge you today to woo, woo. And they'd be like, and I was just like, never mind. I've never told anyone this. I've never admitted this till right now. I promise you this is true. I used to pray. I hadn't been a pastor long. I used to pray, God, when I hear the train, please don't let me cuss on stage while I'm preaching. Please don't let me cuss on stage while I'm preaching. That was a real prayer. And to God's glory, it hasn't happened in 20 years. I can't say the same for Doug and Jill, but for me, no, I'm just kidding. You guys know, Doug wouldn't do that. The first time we stopped complaining about our lot in life and feeling sorry for ourselves that we worked at a theme park, and we finally said, you know what? What if we were just more grateful for this building that God gave us, even though it's weird and our story's just wonky? And we kind of wanted to be pastors and kind of had hidden dreams of being hip hop artists. And so we decided the best way to celebrate our theme park was with a rap video. Let me give you a little sample.
Fun for everyone. Riding circles around the square, come and get you some. I'm riding shotgun on a giant swan. Everybody look at us, we floating on a pond. I got my sunscreen with my flippy floppies. Wild beezies in the office, straight flipping copy.
If you think we're gonna have a 20-year celebration and not show clips, and I said clips, plural, of rap videos, you don't know us very well. Z-Rabbit, I heard somebody say. You can see the full versions on YouTube. It's fine, no big deal. We're not famous or anything like that, but there's probably millions and millions of views. But we blinked, and we moved out of that little corner pastel building, and we moved across the sidewalk into this red barn. Now, if you'll look at the roof line on that left picture, you were risking your life to walk into that church. So we used about every piece of, every resource we had, fixed that one tiny little, 4-foot slab of roof, painted it red and put a sign on it and called it good. But it wasn't pretty on the inside either. In fact, this is what it looked like when we walked into it the first time. That's the bathrooms. Yee-haw, welcome to Red Rocks Church. Are you a cowboy or a cowgirl? We had no money to pay anybody to do work, so it was us and Craig Vincent, and this was what it looked like on the inside. We got out the lifts, we started painting things and putting up screens and did our best, and after a while, it actually looked like this. We had a service there. That's Mark Ray in the tech booth right there. 20 years. I love you, Mark Ray. The screens on each side that are sitting on the floor, those are the exact screens that are in the Austin building today. Don't ever get rid of them. That's where the anointing is. You can take that down. It wasn't really as sexy as that picture made it look. That building had no air conditioning. And I don't know if you've ever tried to sit in a barn with no air conditioning in Denver in the middle of the summer for about an hour and a half. It's not pleasant. If it's 85 outside, it's 105 in that barn. And we used to do these little paper programs, and everyone would be like this the whole service. And I said this for years. I was like, hey guys, I know it sucks we don't have air conditioning. As soon as one of you guys want to pay for it, let me know and we'll fix it. We left that place with no air conditioning years later. It had about 45 minimum leaks from the ceiling. You were always gonna get dripped on if there was any precipitation outside. We had bears show up in front of the building. We had snakes in the kids' room. We had floods. And here's the thing, I've said this stuff before, and I know you. I know what you do. You go, yeah, poor guy walked uphill in the snow both ways. It wasn't that bad. I got proof. Never shown you the proof, never thought I needed it. But I feel like today, I need it. I feel defensive. I don't think you understand the Egyptian plagues we were under trying to have church in that place. Last week, Mark Ray sent me a video. I don't think I've ever seen it. He goes, bro, remember just another Sunday at Heritage Square, one of the floods. That's our building right there.
JT.
And that's John Trowbridge, the long timer John Trowbridge. Snakes, bears, bugs, floods, you name it, we had it. It shouldn't have worked, guys, I'm telling you. And we felt so in over our heads at this point on it was literally one of those days where we went, all we can do is laugh and go back to our hip hop roots. And so we made another rap video.
Yo, what up, church? We've been here for a minute. 11 years went by so fast, that's how long we've been in it. Me and Chad B on the MIC, been spitting it since 05. Spent more time in a theme park than any carny alive. I guess you wait, I'll paint your face, I'll take you straight to church. Back in the day, we had no signs, you just had to search. You might be tired from the walk, yeah, you deserve much better. See, the temperature inside that room's determined by the weather.
I'll never forget the day, me and Chad, we were laughing this week, talking about old times, and we were standing next to each other in our building, watching nobody worship, and we were both just standing there like on the back wall like this. We weren't looking at each other, we were just staring forward at this little church that didn't work in a theme park. And I went, hey, Chad. He goes, yeah. I said, you think this is ever gonna actually work? He goes, nope. What we forgot is when Jesus shows up, immeasurably more is what happens, church. The last day we were at Heritage Square, someone had a camera that day too, and they took these pictures. I remember going out there, and BZ's like, we got no more seats. And I walked outside and I saw this, I said, BZ, we got a problem. And then I just cried. Because that's not possible. It shouldn't work. You can't start a church with guys who think making rap videos is a good idea. In a place that looks like that with all the problems, unless we have a God who does immeasurably more than all we could ever ask, think, or imagine. Memory lane's almost closed. Couple years after that picture I just showed you, we felt like we heard from God one day. We had a guy working at the church named Doug Wekenman, and he was a young adults pastor. And I was just getting to know him, but every time I heard him speak, I was like, man, this guy has a gift from God. And we started talking about it as a leadership team, and we came up with what we thought was a God idea. We weren't sure if we just had bad pizza or God was speaking, but what we thought was like, what if? And I remember I called Doug one day and I said, Doug, and I was really nervous because I was like, I don't want him to think I'm trying to get rid of him. I just feel like this could be, I called him, I said, what if, just hear me out, what if you started a Red Rocks church in another state and somehow it was, we're all still totally connected. We're doing the same teaching series. We're in step. We're doing everything together, but you guys do the teaching and you guys do the leading. And I don't know how that would work. And I don't know anyone who's doing quite like what we're thinking about, but what would you think? And Doug got real quiet and I was like, I made him mad. I was like, Doug, you there? He goes, hey man, I'm gonna put you on speakerphone. He said, I'm on a road trip with Ryan and Ethan Matat right now. And he said, we've been dreaming and praying and talking, and we literally just finished talking about, we feel like God put a dream in our heart to go to another state and start a Red Rocks church. And I promised that I would call you when we got home and ask you. And he said, Shawn, we're 5 minutes from my house, and now you call me. And we all cried together. And 6 years ago, they went to Austin, Texas, and started a church, Red Rocks, Austin. And let me just show you a couple pictures. This is a picture of their auditorium. Those are still the screens from Heritage Square. The auditorium's impressive. Let me show you a picture of the lobby because they can't fit everybody in the auditorium. They had almost 4,000 people last week. They're talking about having to start a 6th service. I'm telling you, we serve a God that does immeasurably more than all we can ask, think, or imagine. Austin, I love you. I can't wait to see you guys again. In 6 years, at the Austin campus alone, 2,779 people have given their life to Jesus, and 1,035 have been baptized. In the past 20 years, what started with a handful of people and some red candles, some big prayers. Our team just sent me this message this week. Go and put that stat up. Over 20 million views of our messages in 181 countries. I'm not bragging on us, I'm bragging on our God. That's not possible. We said at the very beginning, all we really can control with this is if we are generous. We can't make ourselves better speakers. We are what we are, and we can't make ourselves better at music. We are what we are, and we got the worst location any church plant's ever heard of. And so but we can control if we're generous. So let's try to be the most generous church we've ever heard of. And our first offering was a few $100, and we were like, how? We can't even buy more printer paper, and for the printer we leased because we can't afford to buy one, and how are we gonna pay the electrical bill and fix the wall that got damaged by the flood? But we just started trying to give away a few $100 here and there, 10, 20 bucks here and there. We find a hurting family, find a hurting city, find an organization that rescues people from sex trafficking. Let's get involved. Find an organization that helps feed and clothe kids that don't have anything unless someone like us gets involved. And we just, whatever we can here and there. And they just sent me this stat this week. In 20 years, this is how much we've given away. Over $20 million. That's because you guys don't just talk about being a generous church. You have decided we will be a generous church, and we've given away over $20 million to help hurting people. And I saw that stat this week, and it just got me because when we started, that didn't feel possible, but we serve a God who does immeasurably more than what we think is possible. And this is the one that I have the most excitement about. And please remember, we're not building a memorial to say, check us out. We're building a memorial to say, check God out. But in 20 years, these are the statistics we have. 13,093 people have been baptized, 73,453 salvations. Can you guys one more time just go crazy for God? My challenge for you is do what I just did for our church family, for your family, for you. Take this. Take the one you get at Target. Take some printer paper. Use your phone if you gotta. Build yourself a memorial. Here's what happens. All a memorial is just something I can keep looking at when times get really tough. When things get really hard and I feel really scared and I feel like maybe I missed God. Maybe he didn't want me to choose this direction. Maybe he wanted me to do that. Maybe I messed the whole thing up. You know how many times we felt like that 4 years into being pastors and moving into the Red Barn? We had to have missed God. This can't be his will. We got to have a memorial to go back to and go, on the hard days, no. God's still with me because look what he brought me through. Look what I've been through. I felt the same way back then, and it felt impossible back then, but he got me through that. He'll get me through this. We're building a memorial. I challenge you to this week, start writing down on a daily basis just some things you're thankful for, some things that God has brought you through, some things that God has saved you from. And if you run out of ideas, just start thanking him for Jesus and salvation and forgiveness and grace and heaven forever and breath in our lungs. We got a lot to be thankful for. Build yourself a memorial. Psalm 9, this is exactly what David was doing. He's literally on the run for his life. The king is trying to kill him. In his mind, everything in life is going wrong. And he writes this, I'm thanking you today, God. I'm thanking you, God, from a full heart, probably written from a cave on the run for his life. I'm thanking you as my whole life feels like it's falling apart. I'm thanking you, God, from a full heart. I'm writing the book on your wonders. And the very next verse says, and because I am, my enemies have to flee. Because there's something powerful about thanking our God for what he's done for us and what he's brought us through. And I'm just telling you, you start writing that thing down. You start creating for yourself a memorial. And don't ever forget, because when you do, it'll start to build your faith and it'll actually allow you to start believing God to do the immeasurably more. It's not that we don't know that he'll do it or that he said he will. It's that we just don't feel it and our feelings lie, and we have to remind ourselves, my feelings lie, my logic lies, my understanding of this situation is not the full story. So I'm gonna go back to when God did the miraculous, when God did what I thought he couldn't, when he got me through what I thought he couldn't, when he did the impossible, because if he got me through that, he'll get me through this. And we can start to believe that he can do more than we could ask, think, or imagine. There's a phrase I want you to take home with you, and it's this: being thankful for what God's brought you through will build your faith for what you're going through. This is what I call, I've been here before faith. I've been here before. Let's go back to where we started. Why would God ask Joshua and the nation of Israel to build a memorial? He already did the miracle. You're already in the promised land. Why the memorial? Why the need? Because God knew what they didn't yet know, which is they were gonna have to go through 31 life-threatening battles to take possession of the promised land. These battles don't happen in a few minutes. This is 31 seasons of life where the wheels feel like they're falling off. 31 different times of, I thought God said he'd be with me. I thought God would take care of me. I thought God cared, but look at my situation. Apparently not. And God said, no, I'm still with you. I still care. I still have a plan. What you don't understand here, that's okay. You just look back to what you now understand. Go look at that memorial every single time and just remind yourself, he got me through that. He'll get me through this. I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, but I know he got me through that, so he'll get me through this. It's what David prayed when he stood before Goliath. Maybe you haven't even been to church before this weekend, but you've probably heard that story of David and Goliath, this giant that the entire nation of Israel is scared to death to fight. Nobody wants to step up. And here comes this boy from the fields watching dad's sheep. And David goes, I'll fight him. And everybody's like, you're crazy. Even the king's like, you're crazy. You can't do this. And here's his response. Watch where he gets his courage to go through this battle. Here's what he said. No, you don't understand. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine. He said, King, no offense, but I've been here before. See, I was out watching sheep walking in my calling, and a bear tried to kill me, but God got me through that. And then one day a lion tried to kill me, but God got me through that. So yeah, this scares me to death, but guess what? He got me through that. He got me through that. He'll get me through this. I've been here before. That's what we're gonna do on purpose. Thank you, God, for where you brought me. Now give me the faith to write down some crazy prayers. Give me the faith to dream things that I'm afraid to ask you, that it feels like it's too big for you. God says, test me, kids. I am the God who does immeasurably more than all you could ask, think, or imagine. That's who our God is. So let me ask you, for your family, for your loved ones, what's the miracle you're praying for? What's the miracle you know you need, but you're scared to pray for it because you're afraid you might get your heart broke? Afraid you might get let down if God doesn't answer it the way you want to pray it. Maybe it's a financial thing. Maybe it's a relational thing. Maybe it's your marriage. Maybe it's a diagnosis. Maybe it's anxiety or depression or feeling a million miles from your dreams or just fear of what's going to happen next. Can I remind you, in all these things, you are more than a conqueror through him who loves you? That's Jesus' invitation. That's God's invitation to say, hey, look, step into the middle of this tough situation. Just keep taking steps of faith forward because I got you. And on the days it doesn't feel like I got you, remind yourself. Look back to that memorial you're building. Got you through that, get you through this. We're doing it as a church family right now. We need some financial miracles to happen. We need some financial miracles to happen. We need buildings to miraculously fall out of the sky. We're running out of space everywhere in Denver. We need more buildings, but we need a miracle. Austin definitely needs a building, needs a miracle. That used to would have scared me to death. Because I remember a day when we had a couple buildings here in town and all the seats are full and we can't do any more services. And I remember at this campus at Littleton, there would be multiple services where we would turn 100 cars away per service. Going, I'm sorry, there's just no more room. But we didn't have the finances to get a building and it scared us to death and didn't know what to do. And so as a staff, we got together for a month straight. We just prayed. Every morning, we just prayed together for miracles. We didn't know what else to pray for. Just, God, would you do a miracle? God, would you do a miracle? And right after that, I got a call from a guy in Arvada. I'll never forget, Rick. You guys know Rick. Rick called and he said, hey, we got a church up here in Arvada, beautiful piece of property. We don't need to sell it. We won't sell it to anybody else. I'm like, cool, good for you, Rick. Can I do something for you? He goes, we had a board meeting last night. And we've had this little bitty church for a long time, and it's never really grown into what we had hoped it would. And we started talking at our board meeting last night, and one of the guys said, I wonder if Red Rocks Church had this property, if more people would go to heaven. And so, any chance you guys need a building? Miracle. Right now, that's the Arvada campus, where thousands of people have gotten saved. Thousands and thousands have heard the gospel. So yeah, do we need a miracle now for some buildings? Yeah. Am I scared? Am I gonna lose 1 ounce of sleep? No, I've been here before. He got us through that, he'll get us through this. What about you? What if you started to take God up on his offer to get real thankful for where he's brought you? And what if it started to build your faith for what you're going through? For me, I started this last week, and I'll give you some cliff notes of what I wrote. It was, my mom had me when she was a 17-year-old heroin addict. And by her own testimony, she tells people that the baby shouldn't have made it. And then once he was alive, there were days with no food, no diapers, no attention because I'm passed out on heroin. I don't even remember that, but God got me through it. At 24, I sat down to take my own life as a suicidal drug addict. God got me through it. One time, God asked me and my wife to sell everything we had, come join some people in Denver to try to start a church. We were scared to death. God got us through it. One time, my son Ethan was in the hospital for a week in the ICU after a youth missions trip with a virus that they couldn't figure out. And I'm talking to the disease unit, whatever that thing's called, I forget. And the doctors kept coming in and going we can't find the virus and all of his organs are shutting down and we don't know if he's gonna make it. And God did a miracle and he got us through it. 5 years ago, I thought I was gonna lose everything to panic attacks. I couldn't get them under control. Thought I was gonna lose my family, my job. I wanted some days to lose my life. I thought I'm never gonna get through these panic attacks. God got me through it. You say, what's your point? If this is your church, you know. I don't try to hide it anymore, but a couple years ago, I got a brain disease diagnosis that I'm not real excited about, but that's okay. Most days I don't have pity parties anymore. You know why? Because he got me through that, and 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 he'll get me through this. I've been here before, and so have you. This is not your first rodeo either. There's a time in your life when you didn't think it was gonna work out, and you can look back and go, he got me through that, he got me through that, he got me through that. He'll get me through this in 2005. This is gonna be the year I'm more grateful than I ever have been, and I'll pray bigger prayers than I ever have prayed, because I got a God who says, I do immeasurably more than all you can ask, think, or imagine. Red Rocks Church, would you stand up with me and let me pray? God, I thank you for this church family. I can't believe you let me be a part of this. I'm so grateful. Thank you for your son, Jesus. Thank you that he paid the price for our sins and we don't have to earn it or deserve it, but we can just receive your forgiveness and get heaven forever. Thank you for all the stories we have to tell. This one little slice of your big C church. This one little church family, we have so many miracle stories. God, help us to never forget. Help us to brag on you until we have no more breath in us. And help us to believe for more than we ever have before, in Jesus' name. With everyone's eyes closed, let me ask two questions. One is this. You say, man, I'll be honest, me or someone I love, I feel like we need a miracle. We need guidance. We need what feels right now impossible to us. And today you just say, God, reignite my faith so that I can start to believe you for more than what makes sense to me. If that's you, raise your hand. I'm just gonna pray with you. Yeah, a whole bunch of us. The second question is this. Maybe you had no idea why you were even tuning into this service this weekend, but somehow we've been talking about this trajectory of this one little church, but God's been talking to you about your life. Like you can feel it. Like you just know, like if that God who does the impossible, if he would have me, I need that. If he would forgive my sins, I need that. If he would love me, I need that. If I could have heaven forever, I need that. If that's you and you say today, I just want to receive the love and grace and forgiveness of Jesus Christ. If that's you, raise your hand and I'm just gonna pray for you. And I'm just believing for hands to go up literally around the world right now as people watch from countries all over the place. God, I thank you for every single thing you're doing in our lives. Thank you for your son. Thank you for this church family. God, would you help us as we look back a year or two from now to go, something changed at the beginning of 2025. I started focusing more on what you've done and it started to build my faith for what you could do. And now I got a testimony that I never thought I would have because you really are the God of immeasurably more. I pray for every person who raised their hand. God, would they sense your presence in a real and authentic way today? I thank you for the eternal lives that are being changed. I pray for miracles in Jesus' name. Miracles in physical healing, miracles in mental health, miracles in careers and marriages and situations that feel hopeless right now. I pray for miracles and we stand on your word and we start to believe for them today in Jesus' name. All right, look up here real quick. We're about to sing a song. The worship team, they wrote this song for our church from Ephesians 3:20, which is our verse of the year. And I don't want you to sing this song, guys. I want you to declare it over yourself, your loved ones, your family, and our church family. And let me give you just some of the words you're about to sing because I want you to get them into your soul. You can do so much more than what I could ever ask for, more than what I could dream. I can't even imagine it. If you've been praying, get ready. If you've been hoping, get ready. If you've been waiting, get ready. Get ready for a miracle, church. If you've been broken, get ready. If you've been weary, get ready. The heavens are open, get ready. Here it is. I'm ready for a miracle and I can't even imagine it. In Jesus' name, I love you, church. Happy birthday. Let's worship.